First of all, you say you support the Iranian people, but you're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is named Iran, not Iran. Please, once and for all, let's get this clear. Second of all, are you okay to be representing a country that has so much discrimination against black people in its own borders?
You could just tell that the press conference room was hostile. Immediately you have to brace yourself for anything that might be coming. And I think if more people in the world in general were willing to learn and accept when they're wrong, then obviously the world would be a lot better place to live in.
It's Rog, delighted to be back again with a young American, fresh back from World Cup duty. It's a joy to welcome back from Leeds, Mr. Tyler Adams.
It's been a while, Raj. Thanks for having me.
The World Cup, 13-day odyssey for the United States men. As I say that, does it feel real to you? Or in that surreal mid-season break that the World Cup caused, does it almost feel like a dream?
A little bit, there's a lot of talk around having the World Cup mid-year and what that would feel like. For a player that was playing in their first World Cup, it's all that now is playing mid-year. So, my preparation leading up to that, nothing was really different. I focused on what I was doing here with Leeds, and I had good preparation, good amount of games to get me into form before going into the World Cup, which was nice. And then, yeah, landing in Qatar, it feels like everything happened so quickly. And, in the span of 4 weeks, your journey starts and it can be over. And, the realization that you come to in that short amount of time is that only one team leaves happy.
That is the truth of sports. That is the truth of life. Let's go back to the beginning then. How you found out that you were captain. We know the question was put to a player vote, and to no one's surprise, you won that vote from your peers. But how did it happen? And how were you first told?
Yeah, so actually the vote had happened during our camp where we had friendlies in Germany and Spain against Saudi Arabia and Japan. At the end of camp, Greg actually came up to me and he said to me, yeah, like congratulations. It's pretty cool, obviously, with where you come from and how hard you've worked to earn this, that you don't only get to represent your national team, but also I wanted to congratulate you on being captain for the upcoming World Cup. So in that moment, I didn't really know what to feel. It was a huge honor, a very prideful moment for me, something I've worked for my entire life. That being said, I think there's a lot of guys on the team that have worn the armband in the right way and represented the country amazingly over the past year. So being that guy now, I know it wasn't just going to be a sole responsibility, that everyone had my back. And I think that that's what made our team amazing, is that we supported each other through every moment, no matter what.
How long did it take for you to call your mum?
Don't tell my mom, but I think I texted my dad first. I want to say me and my girlfriend were on our way to the airport, and I texted my dad saying, yeah, I'm going to be the captain in the World Cup. And I texted my mom right after, but I think my dad was the first one to know.
Leading that team out onto the field for the first time in World Cup play against Wales, and then hearing that national anthem, Tyler, footballers always say they can't describe the feeling, but watching you, I just couldn't wait to hear what you were experiencing in that moment.
It was a lot of emotion, walking out for the first time, whether I'm wearing the captain's armband or not, being able to represent your country at a national stage. This wasn't just for all the little kids that were watching and aspiring to be in my shoes one day. This is for the millions of people that are tuning in for the World Cup, whether they're soccer fans or not, because it's their country. And to see, the outrageous support for us at that moment, really all I'm thinking is, I'm looking up at my family, at my girlfriend, at her family, the people that have traveled all the way to Qatar to watch me. And I'm just thinking, like, we can't let our country down. Like, it can't be a moment where, we reflect upon this tournament after we leave and think, yeah, we should have done more. We should have done this. I just want to leave everything out there on the field that I can. So
there are draws that feel like wins, and there's draws that feel like losses. And the Welsh game, ultimately, it felt like more of a loss, conceding in the 82nd minute. But your first ever World Cup game was over. The England game, just 4 days later, now loomed so bloody large. You were the dominant performer on the day. What are your strongest memories of that match? in which you and Weston and Yunus Musa really shut down the English midfield.
In a game like that, you kind of just look at each other and you know when you're flowing, right? And I think that Weston in that game, he made a move down the sideline in the beginning of the half. I could just tell right away that Weston was feeling it. He had something to prove in that game. Eunice, of course, has something to prove in that game. He grows up playing against some of these kids, being compared to them and whatnot, and the energy that he brought, how comfortable he was on the ball in that game. That makes my job easy. You know what I'm saying? I like to break up plays, give these guys the ball, and let them do their thing. So it's a good balance. We know each other's limitations, we know each other's strengths and weaknesses. It's a very good chemistry, I have to say. Not only from how our play fits in with one another, but also just as people. We have a good vibe off the field as well, and that's always good when you can be on the field with each other and know that off the field they have my back as well.
The Iran game just 4 days later was now a must-win. The pre-game press conference was so tense. There was a phalanx of Iranian press, and they chose to pepper you with questions about US immigration policy, school shootings, runaway inflation rates, and even America's military presence in the Gulf. Tell us the backstory.
U.S. Soccer did their best, obviously, to prepare me in the best way possible. Every single time we would get in the car, me and Greg, to go to the press conference, it would be about 25 minutes away, and usually we could prepare ourselves for it in that amount of time. But this case was a little bit different. I remember walking in the room, you could just tell that the press conference room was hostile. Immediately you have to brace yourself for anything that might be coming. And
First of all, you say you support the Iranian people, but you're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is named Iran, not Iran. Please, once and for all, let's get this clear. Second of all, are you okay to be representing a country that has so much discrimination against black people in its own borders?
Was I prepared for that in any way? Absolutely not. I mean, how can you really be prepared for that? It's one of those moments where you just have to sit there and, before you jump to a response, you have to sit there and think about what the question was actually being asked and what they're trying to get out of it.
My apologies on the mispronunciation of your country. In the U.S., we're continuing to make progress every single day. Like you just educated me now on the pronunciation of your country. So it's a process. I think as long as you see progress, that's the most important thing.
To be completely honest with you, I'm very happy it was me that got that question, because I think a lot of people might not be able to relate in the same way that I could relate. I think if more people in the world in general were willing to learn and accept when they're wrong, then obviously the world would be a lot better place to live in.
Into the game itself, you again were a clenched fist. Christian Pulisic made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, crotching that ball home. Huge relief to all watching at the final whistle. Really though, the lasting memory of this game was watching you, Anthony Robinson, and the rest of the team. Immediate reaction in the moment of victory was to console your beaten Iranian opponents as they slumped to the floor in agony. Can you relive this? What drove you to commiserate with your foe rather than celebrate your own victory? Because it was really an incredible human moment to witness.
One thing that's amazing about football and about sport in general is that there's always this sense of camaraderie. You can't really play in a game like that and not feel the magnitude of what the other team is going through. In that moment, I think it's a moment of, sportsmanship. Of course, you always go up to your opponent usually and, say great game, congratulations on an amazing World Cup, et cetera, et cetera. But in this moment, it was just more about the person than the athlete. And I think a lot of people get those tied up and confused in a lot of scenarios that, oh, wow, he had a terrible game. He must be a terrible person. What is he doing? This and that. It's like, people are human beings at the end of the day, and how this can affect them. So, you put football to the side, you put your joy to the side for the second, and you just kind of console with them as human beings. I think that's important.
Into the wide open waters of the knockout round against the Netherlands, Louis van Gaal's Netherlands. Can you describe your confidence levels before this game?
It's one of those things where you just got a good feeling before the game. You know, you look to your right, you look to your left, you look at everyone. Everyone's laser focused, knows their job, knows their role. We're just ready to go.
What emotions did you experience at that final whistle of the Netherlands loss?
Oh, it's just it's heart wrenching because it's like it felt like yesterday I was getting off the plane in Qatar and the journey was starting. It's a game that you reflect upon and you say, yeah, we probably left it out there a little bit, right? And I think that it's a huge learning curve for us still. There was a lot that, you know, we needed to execute in order to get that right. But oh man, you look back at it and you just say you're not that far off, and that's a good feeling.
Have you kept your shirts? I've always wondered what the players do with the World Cup jerseys that you exchange. Whose did you get? Where are they now? Do you even know? Where are they going?
Nah, no. I have some of my own jerseys. I think that's a cool moment. But I don't switch jerseys with anybody, so I don't really care to have anyone else's jersey.
Why is it? It's so funny because I've always wondered why people give their jersey, the one they wore away, and swap it with somebody else's. You do. Tyler Adams do not trade.
Yeah, no. Like, listen, there's been rare instances when I'll like give a jersey away or something like that, but I don't care to have anyone's jersey. Like I don't need to hang someone else's jersey on my wall in my house and look at it. Like that does nothing for me. Like when I walk by and I see, oh wow, I played against him, I'm like, I don't care.
As we leave the tournament, what was your assessment of the team's grade? And how long do you think it should be before we stop seeing round of 16 as a success?
Immediately, round of 16 should never be a success in my eyes. You know, I was more proud. I was more proud with the football we played and how we executed an identity finally for how the U.S. wants to play, not just go to a World Cup and, you know, maybe bunker in or maybe create a chance every now and then. I think you can finally, you know, look at these games and take away that, you know, we dominated for majority of the games. I don't know how often it's been said that the U.S. has dominated, you know, good opponents at a World Cup level. International soccer, it takes time. You don't get to play with each other so often. So when you do get these opportunities, you need to take them.
Football do not stop. You are now back in action in England, back from suspension against Newcastle in the cold and wet of winter England. You held the third best team in the league to a 0-0 draw. A real slog of a game. I think you were cramping pretty badly towards the end. It was a real war of attrition stuff. There was a moment at the end, Newcastle player, I think it was Jacob Murphy, was preparing to take a late free kick. There were two balls on the field, and you just decided, oh, you know what, I'm going to go full billiards, smacking one against the other, running seconds off the clock, some elite housery. I don't know if you even remember that moment. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, no, I do remember that moment. To be honest, when I'm on the field in between the lines, I don't know what goes through my head. I do some of the craziest things. My mom texts me about every little incident that happens on the field. No, but I remember he was just trying to get the ball in play, but we already had a ball on the field. I'm like, what are you doing? And then he was just messing around with one of my teammates. I just kicked the ball at it. Yeah, it was probably my best pass of the day, to be honest.
By the way, the more we talk, the more I realise that Mum's phone calls are having less and less effect. But in your first two games back, we have seen two absolutely crunching and vital tackles. The first against Alain Saint-Maximin in transition against Newcastle, in which you proved there are no 50-50 balls when you're involved. And the second, a sliding challenge on CONCACAF's Mikel Antonio. I watch you and it's like you crave the contact. Can you describe the feeling of satisfaction you experience when you deliver one of these hammer blows to an opponent?
A goal for a striker is the same as a tackle for me. I love going into to 50-50s. Tackling for me is something that I've always enjoyed.
I like to believe that you spend most of the 90 minutes just walking around the field saying, you don't know where I'm from, dog, to everybody, be it your opponents, your teammates, the referee, your manager. Has the World Cup experience given you more belief than ever?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you know, confidence is obviously an amazing thing, especially when you're playing with an amazing group. So I've had the luxury of obviously playing with an amazing national team, amazing people, amazing players. And now being here in Leeds, they've made me feel welcome since day one. Whether it's the players, the fans, the coaching staff, they've all found ways to help me improve and get better every single day. They push me, set the standard high, and it's a good feeling. When you're in a good environment, it's always able to help you push your limits. So that's a good feeling.
Here's to valuing every play in the year ahead. To you, your family, your mum, Melissa, big love.
Raj, thank you.
Subscribe here for more Men in Blazers videos and courage.